a wee bit later starting today, but we've all had a good chat, so we can chat afterwards as well, there's no limit. So we'll just kick off. Well, I know Gilla wants to speak because she's got to go away shortly. So we'll just have the usual format, we'll just go through all the people who have prepared something, and then everybody else just chip in if you've got something to comment on, anything at all, something you've seen through the week, anything you can bring of interest to people. We're all learning from each other, okay? So I'll pass over to Jill to start off with a few words. Clinical Director. First Minister announced the policy change, but our friend Professor Leach said on the 3rd of April, the global evidence, and we look properly, is that masks in the general population doesn't work. People don't wear them properly. They're hard, they're difficult, they're uncomfortable. Sturgeon said the new guidance that is in April 2020 is related to face coverings, not medical grade masks. She said face coverings are not a substitute for hygiene rules. The evidence on mask use is still limited. Fast forward to yesterday, 10th of July, face coverings become mandatory in all shops in Scotland. Well, I worked in the supermarket for 8 years. It's just like the ambulance. Staff do not social distance or wear gloves. I think one person wears a mask occasionally. So for example, if your shop worker's putting out items of food on the shelf without gloves, and a customer comes along, touches that item, either takes it or puts it back, or takes it to the checkout, and the checkout person handles it, is that not contaminating that item of food? So we'll await mandatory glove wearing next. Except the glove surface is quickly full of germs if not changed frequently. Just watch out for more nonsense to follow from our dear leader. The mask is a sinister fraud. A shutdown that was to last weeks is now 4 months old and no end in sight. No scientific or medical basis for it. Mainstream media censoring Nobel Prize winning doctors and scientists who are brave enough to call it what it is, fraud. Meanwhile, in a classic case of doublespeak, the World Health Organization has concluded that the use of a medical mask could prevent the spread of disease. But it also said in the same statement, there is currently no evidence that wearing a mask by healthy persons can prevent them from getting respiratory viruses, including COVID. Last night, Carl Hennigan, don't know if you watch Newsnight, I hardly ever watch it, but this was an interesting one about the face mask. Carl Hennigan's a professor of evidential-based medicine at Oxford University. Said cloth masks increase your risk of reinfection. Also last night, Professor of Sociology Robert Dingwall said there is a significant number of people who are harmed through mask wearing. The demand is that the government do something. Masks are symbolic and they're cheap, so that's why they're promoted. Epidemiologist Professor Mike Tilsley also said that people could be lulled into thinking masks are sufficient and forget about social distancing and hand washing. So there are some people out there with intelligence, integrity and courage. One US public official, the mayor of Nevada City, is Renette Seenum. She's willing to fall on her sword to tell the public the truth about the mask. There was a time when Fauci, you know who Fauci is, Tony Fauci, told the truth, e.g. he did call COVID a mild flu. Medical science and practice has not changed since they originally said these things. The CDC's own report said in pooled analysis we found no reduction in influenza transmission with the use of face masks. This is all about control. Tony Fauci's frauds have been highlighted numerous times in the last 3 months. Yesterday I read 31 articles about Fauci's frauds. 2 major ones before COVID were AIDS, he was right in at the start of that, and Ebola. The current technical term for this virus, COVID, is SARS-CoV-2. So the SARS original was the original SARS. We're told how traumatising it would be in countries that experienced it. But here's a quote from the author of the book called The Infectious Myth, David Crowe. He said, the experimental drug for the coronavirus that Fauci is flogging hard, remdesivir, was developed for Ebola, and it failed. It's a scam. The National Institute of Health found remdesivir promising in March. They also found it promising for SARS, and was used heavily then, but all it did was kill people. Crowe also says the world is suffering from a massive delusion based on the belief that a test for RNA2 is a test for a deadly new virus that came from wild bats or other animals in China, supported by assumption that Chinese will eat anything that moves. If the virus exists, it should be possible to purify viral particles. From these particles, RNA can be extracted and should match RNA used in test. Until this is done, it's possible the RNA came from the cells from another source, which could be cells of the patient, bacteria, fungi, etc. So without purification of virus particles, it can't be accepted that an RNA test proves a virus is present. While definition of SARS was self-limited, the definition of COVID-19 is open-ended, therefore subject to misuse. Doctors faced with what they believe is a deadly virus treat for the future, for anticipated symptoms, not what they see today. This leads to the use of invasive oxygenation, high-dose corticosteroids, antiviral drugs. In COVID's case, populations in China, for example, are older and sicker than the general population and less able to withstand aggressive treatment. After the SARS panic, the original SARS, had subsided, doctors reviewed the evidence. It showed treatments were often ineffective. All had serious side effects such as neurological deficit, joint replacements needed, scarring, liver disease and higher mortality. Of course, the cabal are great planners. As soon as COVID-19 wasn't bringing about the desired results they wanted, the riots started, funded by Soros. COVID-19 took a back seat for a while. Then when that died away, the experts all started warning about a second peak, a second wave of the COVID. On the Andrew Marr show, Sir Simon Stevens, Chief Executive of the NHS, has warned that we could have, or the NHS could have, to deliver its biggest ever flu immunisation this winter. Has it prepared for a second wave of coronavirus, particularly if it's co-existent with the flu? And the risk is many of the symptoms are interchangeable, surprise, surprise. So we need a very rigorous test and trace service. How convenient they have all these empty Nightingale hostels ready and waiting. And most people will still be fooled into believing their lies. The late American comedian George Carlin once said, governments don't want a population capable of critical thinking. They want obedient workers, people just smart enough to run the machines and just dumb enough to passively accept their solution, their situation. So COVID is not a conspiracy theory, it's an actual planned conspiracy, years in the making. But we have seen major inconsistencies. Tainted tests, false numbers, lockdowns that don't make sense, predictions that are wildly out, then the riots, many doubts about the identity of the black man. Murdered, was he murdered? Was the cop a real cop? Why was the casket closed? Why was there a funeral with politicians and celebrities attending when families couldn't even attend their own loved one's funeral? With 4 memorial services throughout the country where thousands gathered during lockdown. It's laughable, isn't it, if it wasn't so serious? The WHO elaborate plan is there, online. Look into Agenda 21, research it. It was created in 1992, implemented by new non-governmental organisations, funded by foreign countries and groups like OSF, that's George Soros's body, and of course Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. One objective is that every local government area should drop its own Agenda 21. Since 2015, Sustainable Devlopment Goals are included in the newer Agenda 2030. It's called in full the UN Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. It is fiercely promoted by the Gates Foundation. Then last year, on the 13th of June, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations signed a strategic partnership framework for areas of cooperation to jointly accelerate the 2030 agenda. It all looks very glossy and attractive on the website, but it reveals a global government takeover of every nation, dismantling sovereignty, property rights, food supplies. It's a fascist agenda fueled by multinationals like DuPont and Monsanto. The World Economic Forum was created in 1971. Of course, Bill Gates is heavily attached to the the WEF and the UN. In 2018, the World Economic Forum states the core of the 2030 agenda is "we are all in this together." Sound familiar? We've heard this over and over again since COVID started. This is a comprehensive, meticulous plan for changing the world. And COVID is a catalyst. It starts real-world globalisation. There's a huge section on COVID in the website in the UN with 200 subtopics. Each topic relates to every single sector you can think of. It could not have been this year. Global governance and fourth industrial revolution has been planned for decades. One world, one government, no borders. Complete control over us. Artificial intelligence. Controlling our business, food, money. Transhumanism. No privacy, no freedom for these plans to work. A scared and divided world is needed to dominate. Killing the economy and depopulation is how you get a whole world to behave and start from scratch. The New World Order, wiping the slate clean and then restart. I'll finish with some quotes from some of the major players. This is a UN statement. The present vast overpopulation, now far beyond the world carrying capacity, cannot be answered by future reductions in birth rate due to contraception, sterilisation, abortion, but must be met in the present by reduction of numbers existing now. This must be done whatever means necessary. UN statement. Ted Turner touched the United Nations. A total world population of 250 to 300 million. A 95% decline from today's total would be ideal. Nice guy. Isn't the only hope for our planet that the industrial nations collapse? Isn't it a responsibility to bring that about? That was said by Maurice Strong, Secretary General of the UN Chairman on the Earth Climate Change Summit. Timothy Wirth, President of the UN Foundation. We've got to ride this global warming issue. Even if the theory of global warming is wrong, we will be doing the right thing in terms of economic and environmental policy. The world today is 7.7 billion people, that's heading up to 8 billion, 9 billion. Now if we do a really great job in vaccines, healthcare and reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 to 15%. Guess who said that? Bill Gates.
Yeah.
In a video made by the World Economic Forum, it says that by 2030, this is a shocker. The video says by 2030 there will be no 100% natural babies anymore. All babies will be programmed. No one will enter the NWO, New World Order, unless he or she makes a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he takes a luciferian initiation. That's David Spangler, Director of the Planetary Initiative of the United Nations. Scary stuff. What can we do? Wake people up, share the message, show people they're being played. We must stand up and speak up, speak out. We want us scared and divided. But we are powerful with our knowledge and when we work together. Our numbers around the world are growing, though time is short. But truth and love will beat lies and hate every time. So may God bless us and keep us safe in our efforts to spread the truth. Thank you.